Hey BookTube, hi. I just wanted to say that if you have not gotten to book 21 in the Odyssey, don't watch. I am going to spoil the heck out of book 21. And so please, watch at your own risk. Hey everyone, and hey David. If you guys don't know, or if this is your first time here, then hi, welcome. I am Shelly, and I run a book club with the David Wiley here on BookTube. I will leave his wonderful channel down below, and we make videos every week about the book that we're reading, and today we're going to be talking about the Odyssey, because this is our book club pick for January. David wondered, he said, if you could use one of the episodes, because the Odyssey is very episodic, if you could rewrite one of the episodes and do a retelling of one of them, which one would it be? And I am going to pick book 21, and here's why. So when I was a little kid, media was very restricted in my house. My parents, they didn't want too much of a lot of things. They didn't want too much cussing, too much sex, too much violence, too much gratuitous gore. They were the kind of parents that thought that their kids didn't need to be exposed to certain aspects of media or certain aspects that tend to be put into media. And so as a kid, though I found it frustrating, and really when I was 18 years old, I realized how much my parents limited our watching, not in a bad way, but when you're 18 and you can talk about every single episode of Andy Griffith and yet cannot talk about the latest pop song or have no idea who the big actors are or have watched any of the most popular television shows in the past 5 years, but you know Andy Griffith is your guy. You kind of realize like what sort of life you've had up until that point, because it never failed that somebody would say, "Oh, you're a bit odd. You don't know a lot of things going on." But the one thing that we could watch was certain action movies. My dad had a soft spot for action movies, and so we almost always watched the latest James Bond movie and the latest Jackie Chan movie. So Andy Griffith and Jackie Chan, those were my cultural icons when I grew up. And this thing would happen, never failing, this very particular scene would happen. There would be a competition in the movie, some sort of challenge, and there would be all of these challengers that wanted to complete the challenge, because the challenge, at the end of the challenge, if you completed it or if you conquered it, there would be this really wonderful reward, whether it be getting the girl, getting lots of riches, or obtaining power. And so as the challenge would be set forth, the challengers would come up and they would inevitably fail. A lot of times these challengers were part of the bad guys, so it would be a little bit humorous watching them fail this challenge over and over again. And then from the crowd, from off screen, someone says, "Hey, let me try." And it's this person that nobody recognizes. Maybe they're in disguise. And they come up to the place where the challenge is taking place. They come to that spot and they not only smoke the competition, but they defeat the challenge as if they were made for it. And you would imagine my absolute shock when this trope that I have known pretty much my entire life showed up in the Odyssey. All of a sudden, my little narrow point of view of literature in the world and this knowledge of this trope that I didn't even realize was a trope, all of a sudden I was like, the Odyssey? What? Like, it just broadened my horizons 10,000 times, because I was like, you're saying that specific trope is from the Odyssey? And so let me just, recount this for you. So in the Odyssey, Odysseus has been gone for decades at this point, and Odysseus is in disguise that Athena made him, and so he is this old beggar man, and he's getting the lay of the land, his kingdom, to see where it is right now, whether it's safe to unveil himself or to, reinstate himself as ruler. He's getting really the lay of the land, and he notices that there are all of these suitors, sort of not great guys, trying to marry his wife, Penelope, who they are trying to convince she is a widow and that she ought to remarry, and so on and so forth. And so Penelope, fed up, finally says, yeah, you know what, I'll marry you, I'll marry one of you. And here is my challenge. My challenge is this: take Odysseus's bow, I want you to string it, and I want you to shoot an arrow through this thing, like through, I forget what it is, but shoot the arrow in a very specific way. We're going to say that. And so then all of these suitors come up and they try and just bend the bow in order to string it, and the bow will not budge. And I mean, they're just like, grabbing it and trying to twist it. They warm it up, they grease it. They're trying to manipulate this bow, and no man is strong enough. Even Telemachus tries, and he's not strong enough. And and it's this moment where you're just watching them all fail, and then of course the ringleader of the suitors goes, nobody can string that bow. This is an impossible task. And then what do you know? This old man hobbles in, and he's like, let me try. And it is Odysseus in disguise, and Odysseus not only just grabs the bow, manipulates it, bows it, and strings it and shoots it in the way that he's supposed to, but like it is, the moment where he reveals himself, and it's a big moment. He's like, I'm in disguise, and this is who I am, and I have this strength, and I am the true ruler here. And it's just a really great moment because it is the climax of the story, and from there we get the falling action and resolution of the story. And so it's just a fantastic moment. But I did not know that all of those Jackie Chan movies, all of those James Bond movies, if this happened in James Bond, you know what, I'm not really sure if it does. But it happens, this very, very specific scene, this trope does happen in the cartoon version of Robin Hood, which is based on an old story. And so, even Robin Hood in disguise, they're supposed to actually shoot an arrow to a target. And Robin Hood, comes and he's all robed up. I mean, the cartoon version, like Robin Hood and Little John walking through the forest, that one. I'll put up a picture so y'all know what I'm talking about. But, he takes the bow, Robin Hood does, in disguise, and not only gets the target, but splits the other arrow in half. Like, he's so spot on in the middle that he even takes the previous arrow that was there and splits that in half. And what I didn't know was that they were taking it straight from the Odyssey. And it's one of those funny moments for me where I just didn't know how old this trope was. I didn't know how long we've been, dealing with sort of, suitors or bad guys in that way where, you see how weak they are, and the true hero reveals himself by not only just sweeping the competition, but showing them what's what. And that was a really cool moment for me. It broadened my knowledge of literature and the world, but it also put into context very specific things that I have watched and consumed over the years. It was cool. It was really, really cool. And so if I were to write a retelling, I would actually rewrite a retelling of Book 21. I would probably flip it on its head, and I would do, instead of all men fighting for to marry a woman, I would probably do all women who are fighting for something other than a man, but fighting for something really important to them. That's how I would write my retelling, which I think would possibly go over really well. I'm not really sure, but I just thought it was so cool. And it was such a great moment. My question has to do with this, but has the Odyssey put books in context for you? Any of you, David in particular, because we do these videos back and forth. Has the Odyssey set some things in motion that you didn't realize existed that far back? Has this helped you understand literature in a way that you didn't? And also, because I'm actually finished with the Odyssey, I am, additionally, if you don't want to answer that question, or you're like, I have nothing to say. If you don't want to answer that question, then I actually want to know, which book did you enjoy better? the Iliad or the Odyssey? I'm really curious, and I'm going to actually answer that next week about which book I preferred and why, but I want to throw it to you all first. And David, I want to know which book worked better for you and why. I'm just so curious. I want to know. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye, guys.